Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first ever interview with somebody else on my YouTube channel. And I have nobody else than the amazing Patricia Cori. I'm very happy that she wants to do this because, for a first interview to have a person of this caliber, it is amazing. So thank you, Patricia, for doing this.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, I have a little introduction for you to present to you to the viewers. I mostly have a public, in Belgium and in Holland, and I want to let them know your work and present them to you. So, Patricia is a world-renowned, internationally acclaimed author, public speaker, and activist. She is the author of 13 books that have been translated into 22 different languages. She is the current host of the Beyond Matrix podcast, now airing on YouTube, and I remember it was a radio show in the past.
Yes.
Um, she has interviewed some of the brightest minds on the planet. She is also a channel and scribe for for a group of beings called the Syrian High Council, which I considered among the best channeled starseed information out there. I've met Patricia, and I can honestly say she is one of those rare, pure, and brave souls who are absolute warriors for the light and hold the highest degree of integrity, pushing boundaries and introducing exciting new concepts while still being very grounded and streetwise in today's crazy world. She also organizes her Soul Quest journeys, where she takes people to magical places all over the world, and has been doing that for a very long time. I myself done 2 trips with Patricia, and I can honestly say they changed my life because that's where I met my wife Meg. Now she's now my wife, so it really changed my life. So welcome, Patricia. So I'm very honored that you are the first guest, and we can maybe start off with you've been a public speaker, a truth speaker for so long. You have written so many books, especially your starseed work is absolutely amazing. That's what really drew me to you, and your recent book, which I just read, is amazing too. It's so brave, I have to say, and so well written. As a writer myself, I have to say, the eloquence with which you write your words is really amazing. You just weave all these things together, the light and the dark, and you present them in a really nice way. So it's this book. Let me bring it out here. So this was Patricia's previous book, her Starseed Information. Really recommended. This is the most recent one from 2017. But the book I want to bring into the attention here is this one, Hacking the God Code. The title speaks for itself. With what's been going on Earth, and the medical interventions we have been happening in the last 4 years. So yeah, Patricia. So let me first ask, why did you write this book? And you know, I have to say it's really brave. You really speak about so many subjects. It's full head on. So, and I also heard that you had a little trouble publishing it. So maybe you can give us a little bit of information on that, on how the book came to be, and what resistance you had in writing it.
Okay, well, I'll start with the fact that before I did that book, um, my publisher of many years sent me a message that said, thanks a lot. We've enjoyed working with you, but we can't take you any further. And this was because I responded negatively to the agenda of uh, having to announce my pronouns, which they didn't appreciate the fact when I announced my pronouns as me, myself, and I. They didn't see the humor in that. But more than that, it was just this shift with the older publisher, that they were now going into that direction, and that's not my direction. So they canceled all my books, and they were all selling. These are classic books, as you know. I mean, I've been out there for more than 2 decades, and the books constantly sell. They're classic channeled literature. So they canceled them all, and they said, if you'd like to buy some, we'll be happy to give you a discount. Otherwise, we're burning your books. I was like,
Wow.
okay, talk about being canceled. It's just like from one day to another, living also on royalties, because when you've got that many books out, the royalties are part of your income, which is gone. And so I was shocked to be canceled that way, and always having, I'm an old timer, so to speak. So this resistance problem that seems to be encroaching more and more on speakers of truth, as we understand it, I've been through it in so many phases, but to just be completely wiped out, I thought that was interesting. So what did I do? I went ahead and republished some of them myself. And then I got a new publisher, who are the ones that republished the new Syrian revelations. And they asked me for a new book, and I presented them with the syllabus for Hacking the God Code, and they liked it. But when I presented with the book, they felt it was too dangerous because, to be honest, it was in the middle of the Jabberwocky crisis, Jabberwocky, and it was too revealing, and people were too paranoid. And so the publisher said, "We don't feel that this is a good idea to publish this right now." So I said, "Okay," and I published it myself. And I knew, because it really is a scathing expose on what was done to the human race at that time. And not only that, but so much deeper, as far as the direction that the New World Order is taking the human race. And transhumanism is a big theme in the book. And I just said, I had a moment when I said to myself, do I really need to do this? I mean, I've been pretty much of a groundbreaker for so many years. Do I need to put myself in this kind of danger? Speaking truth as I understand it, always, I like to preface. And for a moment, I wasn't too sure about it. And then the voice in my head said, do it anyway, which is how I live. So I put it out by myself. And I have to say, the book has done really, really well and is now also available in German and Spanish. And it has helped a lot of people understand the problem, and, like you said, mixing dark and light. So it's a full on expose of the dark force that is undermining the human race, the species. But it also, as all my books, provides a lot of solutions, answers, or methodologies to deal with the disharmony that's being created in individual biospheres, as well as the species in complete context. So I'm really proud of this book. And it's not a channel book. This one is me talking from the gut, from my soul.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So about those positive things you talk about in the book. I want to go into that more about towards the end of our chat, because I like to
Yeah.
end on a positive note. But to first
Oh,
go into, you mentioned the Jabberwocky, and we have to talk about it, because it's like the single biggest thing that has happened, in the last 4 years. I mean, there are now elections in Belgium, and like the media is totally silent about it. Like the politicians, they're just appearing like nothing has happened. They don't even talk about it anymore. And meanwhile, there's the issue of excess debts happening. But what I
yeah.
found really interesting in your book is that I also want to talk about. Of course, we all know, and most people watching this show will know, the physical effects of the Jabberwocky. But I also want to talk a little bit about the spiritual effects, because I've been really intrigued. You said in your book, of course, you are also a reader. You read people, you see energies. You're very, very psychic, as I can attest to, because I've did some sessions with you. And you've been saying that you're seeing the energetic effects of the Jabberwocky. Now, I've known other people who are also healers who also kind of say the same thing as you. Do you want to go a little bit deeper into that? And maybe if you're seeing that, what are the solutions for people who have that energetic effect that you're observing? Because I don't want to give people without hope, if they you know if they've taken it.
So, first of all, I'm with you about hope, because if we lose our hope, we're done. So, there's always a solution to everything, even though in this case, this is really a challenge for anyone who has taken the jabber. So, but let's start by saying that the intent, and this is not conspiracy theory, because I call myself a conspiracy realist, not a theorist. So this is not a theory anymore. We have doctors coming out. We have actual mainstream media now admitting about the excess deaths, admitting that maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Doing a reversal. The pharmaceutical companies are retracting, pulling back. So the genie is out of the bottle on this one. And um, I lost my track. Just hold on. What I wanted to say was that because of this revealing of this truth, first of all, hopefully people won't succumb to the new wave. They're going to try to put through another wave of these. I see it rolling out, the masks, the diapers in the face, and the whole bit. And so people need to listen carefully to our conversation. And if they have not yet understood that this is bad for you, then they need to pay attention. So a lot of experts are coming out now and talking about, unquestionably, again, it's not a theory. The process of the Jabberwocky is to alter the human DNA. And that's all. I'm all about DNA. In my years of work, it's always been about the DNA of our species. So this little interference with the, I have to be careful because we're on the tube, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but you can use. I mean, I don't have the biggest channel, so I'm not targeted. I think, but you can
Yeah,
speak freely.
you'd be surprised how quickly they interfere.
Yeah.
So the it's the mRNA. It's a synthetic interfering messenger that is designed to go into the human DNA and alter it with a different message. The message is to keep producing these prions, let's call them that, just again to protect you on this channel. And that we've seen the results of so many people now having terrible responses to that. My concern is, why do we want to alter the human DNA? This is our divine connection to source. This is our divine blueprint. And I don't want anyone altering it. I don't want pig DNA in my body. I don't want mechanical interferons that tell my body, no, you don't know how to do this. Now you're going to pay attention to what I tell you to do, which is in essence what the mRNA is. It's a messenger saying, no, that's the wrong way. You do it this way. And why anyone would just roll over and allow this to be interfering, injected into the sacred body that is our being, it befuddles me completely. I don't understand why people yield so much of their sacred being to anything that wants to interfere. The trick to get in is, it's for your safety. We're doing this for your safety. And it's like, well, actually, thanks, but my body knows what to do. It was designed with divine codes to know how to replicate itself as needed, to heal itself when we don't constantly absorb all of the big pharma intrusion. And so, no, no, thank you. I'll let my body deal with this. And especially because the so called virus had a 99.75% cure rate. But hysteria set in, and now people are dealing with this. Again, whatever else is going on, my concern, having been always involved with human DNA in my work and in the teachings from the Syrians, is to safeguard and amplify the divine codes that are the blueprint of the DNA. So now the problem is, for those who have had it interfering with the body, how do we how do we fix that? How do we stop this interference? And it's a not an easy, there's no quick fix here. There's no healing meditation. This is very deep and important. And I want to say, with regard to what you said about me seeing this when I do healings and readings, I started seeing people with no crown chakras. So when I read clairvoyantly, I start at the crown chakra. I see the energy colors. I've been clairvoyant all my life, so this is, as you said, I've done sessions with you. I see the crown chakra and I start to read the energies of someone's chakra system and the energy body, etc. And I started seeing these people with no crown chakra at all. I'd be, how can I not see this? This is always a portal of light. It's always a brilliant, almost always very brilliant, nothing. And then I would say to the person, did you take the Jabberwocky? And they would inevitably say yes. And they would start to say things like, I can't feel God anymore, Patricia. I don't know what's happening to me. Repeatedly the same message. I don't feel God. I can't meditate anymore. I can't, I feel disconnected. Terrible, terrible things. So when you've got 14 out of 14 people saying those same things, not me saying, I can't see your crown chakra, what's wrong with you? Just looking and saying and asking, did you take the jabber? And then getting the fatal reply, not fatal, sorry, I take that back, the sad response, yes, I did. And then crying and really difficulty on the spiritual level, which is how this question started out. So there's so much going on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the social levels involving this horrific interference with our human race.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think of a book that I recently read, which completely, aligns with your vision. It's called it's a book that like brings together the observations of a lot of healers. It was first published in German, but now it's translated into English, and it's a spiritual. It's called a spiritual perspective on the COVID Jabberwockies, but replace the Jabberwocky with the scientific name. And it's written by this German guy who is also like a Steiner, really into Steiner, who actually predicted that this would happen. You mentioned also it in your book, and it really aligns. And what they are saying is that it kind of binds the soul more to karmically to these elites. That's what a lot of these people are saying. So do you see like this Jabberwocky program as a kind of soul? I mean, I hate to use the word, and then I hate to be really too negative, but we have to create words, and we're going to talk about solutions. But do you see this as a kind of trying to soul enslave people, like enslavement on a soul level, or just like a spiritual disconnect?
I see it as both, and the title of the book is "The Conspiracy to Steal the Human Soul." So I reference in the book uh, Yuval Harari, who is the spiritual, if you can imagine, uh, confidant of Mr. Schwab, who said, this thing about the human soul, so yesterday. And there is no soul. It's an illusion. And we are now going to be able to make humans much bigger by nature of the fact that we can rewrite their DNA. He's actually said it. We can alter the DNA. We can plug them into AI, and they will become giants, human Homo sapiens 2.0. But this thing about the soul, forget it. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Harari, but I think I'll stay with the soul. So the message that they're putting out is we're going to alter humans to the point where they're disconnected completely from this consciousness of God, of soul. And that's what this is all about, in my humble opinion.
Hmm.
And preparation for turning humans over to AI, which they're doing a great job, by the way. I mean, the proliferation of AI in these last years is shocking. And as you know, I'm always warning people, back away from it, back away from the computer, get away from this technology. It's pulling you in away from your own being. But it seems that it is ubiquitous. And in many ways, I feel that of all the terrors that face humankind right now, war, death, starvation, nothing is as dangerous as AI. It has an outreach that just gets faster and faster and bigger every minute. So that's my concern. And so when you've got now you mix together an organization of the power of the WEF with intention and technology to take the soul of the human being to kick it out and replace it with uh, uh, artificial intelligence, you've got an emergency on planet Earth. And so you and I, and so many people that are trying to educate people to this, we have a big job on our hands. And it's like for me, 25 years I've been doing this work, and I just feel this crescendo right now. It's like now is the time when the soul of humanity, not just individuals, the soul of the human race is at risk. And I do believe we will win, because my message is never underestimate the human being. We have greatness. Despite a lot of very dark things right now, we have the capacity to love. And there is no robot ever going to have that. Never going to happen. So I just feel that despite the pain and suffering that we're experiencing now, the fear, still we rise. And we will rise above this. I think we will be altered in a lot of ways. And I'm not just talking about AI, but just watching the breakdown of society
Hmm.
and what we're going to have to do to rebuild it. And Yes, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe we will build something much more human, much more beautiful, much more meaningful than where society has taken our race, our species, for so many millennia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the way that you know like you say, maybe the old structures first have to be broken down before the new can rise. And what we're witnessing is like the breakdown of the old structures, and they're trying to take all the souls they can in their grasps to come with them. Um, where do you see this going? I mean, we're obviously like in the short term, like they're obviously like threatening with World War III. I mean, you have to say it like it is. I mean, it's already happening in a way. There's a psychological war against humanity. We're already in some kind of third world war. But what do you feel will happen from this? Like on the European continent, you have the situation in Ukraine going on. You have the situation in Gaza with Iran. I mean, I believe all the world's a stage, and both sides are to some degree in on it, or they're poking the bear, and they've got their way of manipulating things. Where do you see things going, like with the situation in Europe? Because you live on an island, of course, a Portuguese island in the middle of the ocean. What about the European mainland? Some people are saying like countries like Canada are really bad, but Europe, in my opinion, it's kind of the same. It's they got different aspects. I've been in Canada a lot, and I'm in Europe a lot too. So how do you see this going, like for Europe especially? Do you think there's really going to be World War III, or do you think it's just like threatening us, scaring us like they always do?
Okay, there's a lot of questions, and I'd like to start by addressing one fact, and that is, I want to drive this home. They can't steal your soul. That's the point of the book. You have to give it away. You have to say, "Give it to me, please. Shoot me up." You have to bow down and say, "Oh, please, and just let me keep my house as long as I'm safe." And the mantra of this force is, "We're doing this for your safety." So every time you hear that, anybody that's listening now, anybody that tells you it's for your safety, question that, because it's a power move to make you feel unsafe. And then they, the people that tell you it's for your safety, have the solution. So, for starters, as far as what's going to happen here, they're threatening us with World War III. Meanwhile, it's raging. World War III is raging. We're in Armageddon. And the difference is, it's the whole planet. It's every species. They're killing the animals. They're killing the birds. They want to kill the bee. Have you heard this now? There are orders to start smoking and burning the bees.
Oh,
These are
really?
some very dark creatures. I believe they're reptilians, and they probably come from below. And they've got their bunkers. So when the time is right, they'll just go back and crawl, slithering back into their bunkers and wait it out. But I don't think there's a safe place on earth. So this will probably boggle your mind. But what I mean by that is, the only safe place, in the sense of the real meaning of safety, is in the understanding that you're an immortal being, that this is a show. It's a 70, 80, 90-year show, and you've chosen to participate in it. Like sometimes I ask myself, why again? Was I drinking some nectar with the gods of Olympus? What was I thinking when I came in? And of course, the answer is, we came in here to do this incredible work of holding and anchoring light, and at the individual soul level of learning and growing and challenging ourselves, and choosing, because a lot of people are choosing the dark, and a lot of people are choosing the light. And it's like the university of the galaxy, Earth is. It's like this is where the hugest tests are performed, in my humble opinion, at the soul level. So it's at the individual level, and it's at the planetary level. And there will be a lot of destruction. And the only safe place you've got, really, really safe, that nobody can say, "Come over here, take this, do this, we'll keep you safe," is in the knowing that this is just a show, just a brief passage of our eternal being. So I'm 72 right now, and I'm in that third trimester of my life, going, phew, okay. Um, I think I'm going to see a lot of destruction, and I also think I'm going to see an incredible metamorphosis before I pass on to higher ground. So I think that people that are migrating and nomading, is this a safe place? Is it safer there? There's no safe place, because think about this: while they're waging war at the heart of the soul of living beings on the planet, they're also doing these war games all over the place. And the bottom line is, they're ready to set off a nuke. And people, they say, is it safe in, maybe Norway? No. Iceland? Is it? It's like, if a nuke goes off on this planet, it is Armageddon. It's a thermonuclear blast that will completely destroy the planet. So, is there a place where it's going to be better than any others? No, there are nuclear power plants all over the planet. You don't have to launch a nuke to trigger a nuclear holocaust. My personal response is, I don't believe that is the outcome, because I think these goons that are determined to destroy so much life on this planet do not want to destroy the planet. They want the planet. They want to own and possess this planet. And so I don't think that, although hot heads could prevail, I don't think that that is what's going to happen. I think that what it's going to do, that threat, that perennial threat, is first of all trigger the draft, because now they're talking about the draft in Europe and in the U.S., and keep people in absolute total fear until after this elect erection erection in November. After that, we will see what we're really faced with. But right now, that they can't seem to stop this character, Mr. T, and so they're every possible thing. The cases, the court cases, and the reemergence of the uh, virus, the constancy of terror and threat to the human uh, situation. I think we're going to see a shift one way or the other after November.
Mhm.
And my feeling is that we are almost at the culminating point where it feels like they're going to blow up the planet. But I don't believe that for a minute. And I think they're intent on taking down the financial system. They wouldn't be putting all this energy into that if they were intending just to blow it all up. They
Mhm.
want to see the outcome of their dastardly programs. And Jens, I have to say, I know I'm running away here, but again, they underestimate the human spirit. They underestimate how we are saying no, 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 we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to fall for it this time. So it's important for people to get into the squares. Yes, you might get in trouble. Do it anyway. Stand up, because this is the final countdown, and the human race must rise, and we are.
Yeah, I truly believe that, like you say, still we rise, like after everything they've thrown at us, after all these decades, of poisoning our food, manipulating basically everything of our, ecosystem, of our, even our consciousness, and still we are waking up, and you see people waking up in the millions, especially after the great P, which was actually little P, but um, the pan, so yeah, so that's true, and like I like your statement, like there is no safe place. Instead, I would say a safe place is a state of consciousness,
Yeah.
and forget about or where am I going to live, and is this country safe or that country safe? Like you say, it's more of a state of consciousness, and a trust that we will get there, and that you will be at the right place at the right time, and like you say, you're an immortal soul, and whatever happens, like
Yeah,
accepting the divine ordinance, oh, they call it divine.
divine order of things.
Divine order, yeah.
Let's also remember that, in my understanding of existence, we choose when we are born. In the hall of learning, where the soul gets ready to make its next move, we sit down and we make decisions. And I understand that we have help. Our guides are there. We have representatives in these conference rooms, let's call it, where we decide what souls we want to reincarnate with and why, and what time are we going to come in and where, and when are we going out. And I truly live this. I believe that it's preordained. We have free will to a certain extent along the way, but I truly believe that we already have decided when we're going out. So fretting about it is futile if you understand that, because it's like, hey, whenever, it's preordained. I mean, it's like the story of the guy who was going to take the flight in Chicago O'Hara, and he missed the flight because for whatever reason, and the plane went down, and then he got in a taxi and the car crashed and he died. And it's like, if it's your destiny, it's going to happen, right? So I just really feel comfortable with that. And I don't know if it's maturity or whatever, because as a child, as a young woman, I was terrified about nuclear. That was my greatest terror.
Mhm.
Because, I'm old enough that I lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis when we were faced with annihilation any minute. The difference being that we had Kennedy in the position of power instead of a man who can't even stand at a ceremony without pooping his pants.
Mhm.
So I just really love people to consider that. If that is the case, and if you've got a spiritual perspective on life, you do contemplate that. Does the soul decide when to materialize in flesh, and to whom and why? And that we also decide when we're going out and where. It gives me great comfort to think that, okay, there's no point in getting upset about it, because it's going to happen regardless the of the big picture, the war picture, the nuke picture, whatever is determined by these crazy maniacs. Can I affect it? And if I can, I will do it. So I've done so much to awaken people, and still do, and probably will do until I leave this planet. But if I can't affect it, then I refuse to let it disturb my peace, my joy. And I still have, as you can see by the smiling face, I have a lot of wonder and mystery about life. You've been with me in Egypt and places, other trips, and everything is a mystery to me, an exciting, wonderful mystery. To the blade of grass, to the flower coming up, to the little butterfly and the bee. I mean, all the way to the greater contemplations of mysticism and spirit.
Yeah, that's absolutely, that's very true, and that's the way I see it too. Even though they're scaring us with World War III, it doesn't really, it doesn't scare me. Whatever will happen, and like you say, it's the biggest. Well, I like to say the biggest act of resistance is being happy in a world that they've designed you for not to be happy. So that's true light work. Also, is being happy in this whatever they throw at you, as you keep that spark of positivity which you so well describe.
Yeah,
um
because they physically feed off of fear. More than unhappiness, they feed off of fear. That is their adrenaline. So they
mhm,
suck human fear out of the ethos. That's why they terrify babies, which I don't want to get into, before the attack, because the adrenaline, and let's not go there, but you know what I'm talking about.
mhm,
And so when you acquiesce to the fear, whereby you won't even talk to your relatives because oh, they could have it, oh my god, and you allow yourself to vibrate at that low frequency. First of all, you have no joy, you have no vision, you have no purpose other than
mhm,
to find some way to protect yourself, and then they've got you. And
mhm,
that is stealing the soul of the human race. Whereas, like you said, when you're in love and joy and wonder, they can't reach you.
mhm.
So in my life, there have been people who've said, "Aren't you afraid of being attacked?" Afraid? Me? Attack? Free? Afraid? Never. First of all, it can't reach me because I don't vibrate at that frequency. And secondly, I have a lot of protection. A lot.
Mhm.
And so, my message to people is, you want to find a safe place, get into the joy zone, get into nature, get, you know, get a sense of humor. Because, Jens, you will notice that even in our spiritual community, sometimes people are so intense about the knowledge and the wisdom and the practice that they don't know how to laugh anymore. What happened? When did we stop laughing?
Yeah.
Humor is a great tool to expanding joy, expanding consciousness.
Absolutely, and I see. I mean, I'm lucky now to be able to speak to a lot of people, internationally, and I see so many people that are so hung up in the conspiracy theories. I mean, I love to talk about it, and we've talked about it on this in this interview. But a lot of people are so focused on. I mean, I do truly believe you have to inform yourself about the dark. You have to be streetwise in this day and age. But a
Yeah.
lot of people are so focused on it, they forget about what you talk about, the spirit, the soul, the joy, the humor, the laughter. um, and another thing I want to discuss is switching a little bit to a different subject. As you mentioned, Trump, Mr. T, as you say it. I want to ask you about it because I've known you've been very vocal and sometimes supportive of him. I'm kind of a bit in the middle. I kind of liked him, but then when I knew he started, the Operation Warp Speed,
Yep.
that's something that I have to be critical of.
Me
Although he says good things, and I, for example, saw an interview with his son, which says really exposing things. So, where do you think he stands, and what do you think about the white hat story? Because when I was getting into this in the beginning 20 years ago, and they were talking about Nizara, and the Nizara was going to come in and save the day, and it never happens. So, is it a kind of hope, dope, or is it real? Is there some real white hat operation? What do you think? What is your take on that?
All right. Well, for starters, Nassara I've always found a little bit facetious because it is a utopia concept that is very socialist. That we're all going to be reimbursed for every penny that was ever taken from us, and we're all going to live in harmony and bliss. And this money's just going to come out of the sky, pour down on all people, and we'll be all equal. And it's like that is contrary to the nature of productivity on this planet. The human being needs something to strive for. And when you look at the people that aren't working or they got their checks from the government or whatever, there's misery. There's misery and anger and resentment and a lack of productivity. For example, if everybody doesn't have to work, how are you going to take a flight? How are you going to eat? There's a basic conceptual problem with the Nasara format. So anybody that pushes the Nasara story, I I'm circumspect. It's like, okay, it sounds good, but there are some basic problems and you don't seem to be addressing with the idea that we stop working. We all 8.3 billion of us just kind of hang out and don't go anywhere because there'll be nobody running anything, nobody working to produce for 8.3 people the systems that we rely on. So I'm not comfortable with it, and for those people who are, please don't take that attitude of mine as a condemnation for your own belief system. I would love to see a utopic reality, but I don't see it unfolding in that way. As far as Mr. T, yes, I have been sometimes supportive, and yes, I have been sometimes critical and received a lot of backlash for both. I said to people, just question it, just question. Because if you're a devoted Mr. T person, you refuse to question anything, and the mentality is kind of cult like. And everything that he does that doesn't fit into the Mr. Perfect box, people have an excuse for. So when I was challenging the problem I had with the speed, I got so much flack from truthers. It's like, how dare you challenge Mr. T? What he did, and some very notable truthers, may I add, it was a placebo. It wasn't really intended to harm anybody. Then they got in and they interfered with the placebo. I go, hold on a minute here. He gave 16 billion people dollars, billion people. That's a Freudian slip, right? He gave $16 billion to the top three pharma companies. Hello, that's a fact. So did you really think that $16 billion was being given to these dastardly organizations who created a placebo for him, but kept it a secret so that everybody would be okay, and then came in and came up with the dastardly one? What kind of ridiculous concept is that? No. Another person told me that he couldn't help it because he was being pushed by the mafia. Again, very noteworthy people. I was like, the bottom line here is he did it and he pushed it and he pushed it even as long ago as 6 or 8 months ago. He was still telling people to get the jabber. It's good for you. He was speaking at a convention and he said, get your shot. It's good. It's good for you. And he got a roar of negativity from his audience. And now he seems to have pulled back on it. So I've got a problem with that. It just doesn't go away. It's the elephant in the room that doesn't go away.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, in the pantheon of what we call government and all these puppets, the fact that the whole world is trying to persecute him makes me think, well, he's not a perfect human being, but he's the best we've got right now. It's the best alternative we've got right now to try to shift the absolute takeover of the world government. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I really don't know. In all of my life, I've had gut level responses to almost everything. But Mr. T is an enigma to me. And there are moments when I love what he says, but
Mhm.
I would hate to think that it's all designed. It's a big design. And
Mhm.
you've got your evil doers and you've got your holier than thou counterparts. And is this part of the show? And as
Mhm.
for the white hats, where are they? So the rhetoric that, well, it's just a chess. Okay, here are the. It's a 5D chess game. The white hats are in control. They had to let it get as bad as it is so that they could awaken people. I don't think it's a great strategy to let it get as bad as it is to the point where we're at the brink of thermonuclear war. So, or that we have such a satanic takeover on the planet that even children now are going to Satan worship after school. It's like, at what point does this white hat force say, okay, I think we're going to have to cut it here, and whatever we've got awakened, we'll work with.
Mhm.
I personally don't trust this theory of a white hat force, and I think if anything, we are the white hats, the awakening
Mhm.
human race. We're the white hats.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the concept of an external savior that comes in. It never really works that way. Well, the responsibility is within us. Now,
Right.
what do you think about RFK? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's kind of like a third-party candidate. He will probably not get as many votes as Mr. T. But
Right.
where do you stand on him? He does obviously have, also comes from the Kennedy family. Does have his CIA connections. He's also a proponent of Israel. Where do you think he stands? Is he like some kind of wild card that come out of the blue, or?
I when it comes to the political arena, I just observe and go, are they all in on this? Is everybody playing their part? Anybody that, and I've got to sidestep the Israel question because that is absolutely toxic. And I just don't discuss it anymore, other than to say that Trump did do those accords, the Abraham Accords. There seemed to be a direction of trying to simmer down the hatred, and that's gone, which is, he should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize for that. But of course, never got mentioned. But RFK is a tricky situation because he seems to vacillate quite a lot. And I love anyone who is anti-Vaz. So, I love his posture about that. But I think that he's a deterrent as far as he's probably going to suck votes away from Mr. T and water down the whole dynamic, which is fine. But I don't see him as a valid candidate, and I think he would be much more valuable rather than as a president to be in the cabinet or in a place of for example. I'd love to see the United States pull out of the WHO, and I'd love to see someone like Robert Kennedy in charge of the whatever body of or organization that is involved with health and welfare, where he can really do some good rather than just floundering around and wasting his power when he'll never I just don't think he could ever be nominated as as the president, not because the polarity is too vast for that to happen. But what he could do great things in a position where he could affect change, rather than running for president. That's my opinion.
Hmm.
And if I were Trump or whoever else, God forbid the present administration stays in power. But if I were, let's say Trump takes it, if there are even elections, which is another conversation, I would want Robert Kennedy to be in charge of the National Health Administration, with the potential to affect a global body involved with human health.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, Robert Kennedy in such a position, it would be great. And we have to. I think we have to hold that vision of a future open, because human consciousness is the driver of change, and the outer reality politicians will come in that reflect also the change in human consciousness. When the power of like you say, the power of our human consciousness, of the awakened consciousness gets so big, it will change, and we will get new leadership on the planet Earth. Although I'm not a person that really likes leadership in a traditional sense. I mean, honest and leaders of integrity. And I would just want to mention this to you. I've seen this president. I mean, any politician, any politician has got dirt on them. I think nobody is 100% angel in this world, especially politicians. But I'm like the president of El Salvador. I mean, I recently saw an interview with him, and he seems to be one of those new leaders. He really reduced the crime in his country. The murder rate was so high, and now it's so low. So that's maybe one to watch. He was really speaking out about the Satanism. It really surprised me when I watched the interview with Tucker. So maybe that's like one of those new kind of leaders we're going to get. I don't know. There can be deceit and manipulation, but anyway, I wanted to throw that out there.
Yes.
So yeah, to
Sorry.
go ahead, Patricia.
I was just saying, I agree with that. I really love what is coming out of there. I worry about him because I think that, bucking the satanic over body that rules this planet is a formula for destruction. So, these kinds of people, I pray for them. I pray for their well being. And as far as the United States, the one thing I'd like to close with about Mr. T, and again, I think we both agree that there is a plus and minus about this man. But one thing that impresses me about him is his strength. I think you need a fierce leader to take the reins in the United States, and let's see who that could be, because I'm not seeing anybody. They're all in on it, but I don't think that Trump is. I'd like to be right about that, but I don't have conviction. So if anybody's listening, thinking, "Oh, she's pro Trump," actually, I don't have a conviction here. I have constant consternation. Who am I looking at? Who is this character on every politician? I mean, what the European politicians are a disaster, right? Disaster. It's an embarrassment. But here, I just keep looking, going, uh huh, and the same old rhetoric, and listening to the rhetoric, going, okay, drum beat, please. But the one thing that I find interesting is how desperate the world is to condemn this man. So there must be something about that. And for the moment, I have to leave it at that because I just don't know.
All right. Yeah, so to conclude this interview, Patricia, are you planning to do any of your soul journeys? Because the one I did with you to Egypt, I have to say, was absolutely amazing, was life changing. And although the changes didn't happen, immediately, well, of course, I felt very impacted. But years down the line, there was even change happening because of that one trip, and it really, I feel like it changed my life into a really different direction. Are you with the world situation? Are you planning anything, any trips or?
Yes, I'm holding off because 2024, I just don't feel I want to be moving about the planet. But in 2025, I'm starting to organize another trip for Sacred Egypt, England, which is one of my favorite programs. I'll be a speaker. I haven't announced this yet, but I'll be a speaker at the Glastonbury Symposium in 2025, and I'll be creating another sacred journey with the crop circles and the sacred sites and the wonders of England, which is one of my favorite programs that I do. And I think I'll be bringing people back here to the Azores to swim with the dolphins while we still can, because more and more places are blocking now people from swimming with dolphins. So I hope to do that in the summer of 2025. And oh, Egypt calls. It really calls. But you know, it's the responsibility for groups of people. In my life, I've taken so many groups of people, some of them have been 60, 70 people in a group, and having responsibility for their safety. I hate that word, but to oversee the safety of the program in a world that's volatile, and the intent I have to really help people have breakthrough experiences. I don't want to just take people around. I want them to get through those portals, which is my strength, as you remember in Egypt, is just, pulling back that curtain and having multidimensional experiences occur. So there's a lot to it. And for the moment, I'm not sure, but I definitely must get back to Egypt because that's my home.
Sounds amazing. And for people who are interested in your book, is where can they buy it? Where is it available? What is the easiest way for them to buy it?
The easiest way to get Hacking the God Code is on Amazon or uh, Barnes and Noble online, or several online alternatives, or they can go into their bookstores, and if it's not in the bookstore, they can ask the store to order it. But obviously, we're online people these days, so the easiest way to grab it is online. It's on all the venues.
All right. And then one last thing I want to ask you about before we leave this is you started painting, and I'm really impressed by your paintings. Actually, it's like you have a huge talent, and you only started recently, right? Like 2 years ago or something, or
No, 1 year. It was 1 year in April 22nd. I woke up in the morning, and just like I woke up in the morning and I heard, the title of the book is, because that's how this journey started. So a year ago, I woke up and I had this message, you're going to paint now. You need to paint. I was like, paint? Paint what? And it was just, it's a really fun story. I got out of bed. I was sleeping in my sweats. So I didn't even get dressed. I just went out in my sweats because when I have those messages, it's like, move now, fast, make it happen. So I went out to the car and I rushed down to the store and I grabbed paint and brushes and canvases without any former experience. I mean, not even once a brush in my hand. Okay. That's not true. I did dabble in watercolor for 24 hours and went, I don't think so. So I started to paint. And within a couple of days, I put up my painting on Facebook, and somebody said, I want to buy this painting. Is it available for sale? And since then, the experience of painting is just like, I'm not looking at a picture and saying, I'm going to paint this. It's just like I sit down, I see the colors in my head, I pull up the colors, and oh, thank you for showing that. And I start painting. And for example, this painting that you're showing here, I didn't even sketch it. I
wow.
did not sketch it. I just painted it like that. And as it comes through, I go, I'm being helped here. This is not possible. I don't know how to paint. How is this coming through like this? And the answer, I believe, is that I'm channeling. A lot of artists feel they're channeling, so that's not necessarily unique to me. But with no experience, it's been a remarkable journey, and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. As you've seen, sometimes I paint a painting a day. It's
Wow.
crazy. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing. You're channeling the paintings as you are channeling the books. It's
Yeah.
either way it's channeling. Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
painting
So
showing here was a phase when spirit animals were coming through. And now,
mhm.
the phase I'm in now, it's just like these spirits, the Syrians, multidimensional beings just walking through. It's like I paint and then there you go, for example. Um, It's not very clear though, but it's an extraordinary journey. I don't know where it's going to take me, but it's what I'm really into now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this one.
amazing. been really impressed with you. And so people can buy your paintings actually. They're for sale online
Yes,
under
they are. They can reach me through my website, patriciacori.com. There's a contact page, or they can personal message me on Facebook.
All right. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Patricia, for wanting to do this interview. I
Thank you.
really, 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 really appreciate it. Um, so thanks everybody for watching. If you like this content, I'm going to do more of this content. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.